This is the Lenovo Tab P11 Plus. Alright, so this is the Lenovo Tab P11 Plus. This is well, it's actually about a year old perhaps, but it's getting some cracker deals at the moment, especially on the likes of Amazon, where I picked this up for £209 for just, well, an Android tablet to have to kick around the house. It's nicely featured, and we're going to have a quick look into it to see how good it actually is. So here you can see on the back we have, well, it has the 11-inch 2K display, which is a biggie. Apparently these quad speakers are pretty fantastic. It's got the quad-core Mediatek Helio G90T processor inside it, which is pretty beefy, and some say it's better than the Snapdragon that comes in some of the other models of P11s. And then it's got a long life battery as well, where hopefully it gets up to about 10 hours of battery life, which would be quite nice. It runs Android, Dolby Atmos, and Mediatek there. So without further ado, we'll get into it. Okay. There we go. Okay, so there we have the tablet on the top with a little tab to pick it out. People said it's incredibly light, but it does feel, well, it feels solid, that's for sure. Come back to that in a minute. What else do we get in the box? We have a charger, Lenovo branded charger, which I believe is a 0.7 amp charger. My eyesight's I can't quite pick that up in this light. Then we have a USB Type-C cable here. Over on this side we have a SIM card ejector tool, or a micro SD card ejector tool on a full piece of cardboard, and a quick start guide. And that's all that's in there. And that's your lot. I have seen people say online that they do get the keyboard cover and, or the keyboard flip cover and the stylus included, but that must be a different package. We certainly don't get that here in the standard package in the UK. So here is the tablet. So we've got a large black screen, doesn't really look like too much right now. Along the bottom here we have some pogo pins and some indents for clipping onto, well, these, they're magnetic, but these will clip into the keyboard cover. Around this side we have the two of the quad speakers, which look quite nice, and there's a little button up here as well. This appears to be some kind of rubberized area, which might be good for grip, I would imagine. Then we have some volume buttons here. These are probably microphone holes, and then there's a micro SD card tray there. Further on around here we have the USB Type-C on the side here, plus the rest of the quad speakers, the other two. So it all looks rather nice around there. Then on the back, nothing really, just two-tone affair, kind of, well, it's not quite rubberized, it's a weird, it's soft. It feels a wee bit, I don't know, like cardboard, if anything, the texture of cardboard, but it's nice. Then there's metal here, but it's probably metallized plastic casing, and then the Lenovo logo there, Dolby Atmos branded there too, and yeah, that looks rather nice. So turn her on, see if we have any juice. Big vibration there, and Lenovo branding, powered by Android. Now I'm not expecting a particularly heavy overlay on this, hopefully just something that's quite nice and fairly stock, but right from the word go, from the boot screen, we do have Lenovo branding, so getting updates onto this are going to be down to Lenovo. We hit start. Well, yeah, well, okay, we'll just agree to all those sorts of things and hit next. Looking for the Wi-Fi. While that's booting up, I'll just notice that over there it points out all the bits and pieces for out of interest around the tablet. So we've got micro SD card at the top there and the pogo pins at the bottom. Okay, so we did initially have some Wi-Fi issues there that didn't really need to be there. I didn't change anything. I put my password in, and it took 3 or 4 attempts for it to actually get online. 3 attempts to get online. And the router is just there. You can see it behind the box. That white thing behind the other tablet here is the router. Right, finally we get to something that's a wee bit more standard than Android setup. We've got Lenovo ID, register and login, navigation style, AI experience, and smart rotation. So we're going to go with Lenovo and see what this makes. And all important, we can have gesture mode or 3-button navigation. I'm not a big gesture fan, I'm sorry. I know there are people out there who are so advanced, but I'm in my mid-40s and I can't be bothered learning how to do that. We're on 3-button navigation, AI experience, near to wake up. This related function works best within 0.5 meters. We'll turn it on and see what happens there. Smart rotation. Smart rotation in the 14th century. Okay, so we'll finish device setup. And it does, it looks very nice. This screen does look good. Now I have a Samsung Galaxy S7 Plus down in the house that has a pretty ooh, that sounded good too. Has a pretty fantastic screen. And I was thinking that it's not terribly fair to compare it to other screens, but this looks good and it's got some nice viewing angles as well. Because I'm off to the side. I don't know if you can see that, it does have a decent enough viewing angle, and that's what I've picked this up for, primarily the screen, because it's a good screen. Out of the box we have Amazon Music installed, Dolby Atmos app, most of the Google stuff, Google One sound recorder, YouTube Kids and tips and things like that. So there isn't a heck of a lot of bloat here other than Amazon Music. That's quite nice. So we can finish our setup. It's downloading some stuff from Play Store and syncing my contacts and things like that. That's kind of nice. One thing I want to do straight away is go in and see how we do for updates. We do have an update. New version available. Well, we'll do that now. And I'm going to run away and play with this for a while, and in a few days' time I'll let you know how I'm doing. Okay, so it's been about a week since I took in this Lenovo Tab P11 Plus, the 6GB of RAM, 128GB storage version, and I really like it. Now I'm used to a Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 Plus, which I've mentioned a number of times, and this does seem to perform very well when measured up against it, and it's only a quarter of the price. So a couple of quirks that kind of annoy me about it, and there's not that many, are mainly down to Android, the likes of, say, implementation of Android stuff. It just doesn't seem like things are well refined for it. It's fine in that position, but whenever you turn it around, and this tablet does seem to be geared more for using in a landscape position, this kind of thing is not really terribly useful. And whenever you have a few YouTube videos, for example, that appear in your notification shade, they can get a bit confusing as to what's what, and you don't exactly know what you're looking at there. It's not a good thumbnail. Maybe a smaller one over here of the entire thumbnail might be a better thing, but banner looks a bit rubbish. Battery life seems to be lasting me a huge amount of time. I've charged it maybe 3 times since it arrived in a week, which ain't bad. It chews through the battery at quite a low rate. The screen sensitivity is very good. I do notice the screen changing quite quickly whenever I move from different areas of light, whereas here it's got light pointed directly at it. The camera up at the top, the light sensor array, which might be in there, it does jump into action quite quickly. Even though I'm completely covering it, it still keeping it keeping a little bit of brightness there. So it is fairly fast to act. Looking at it now, I'm thinking perhaps it's maybe not that fast, but then I've got greasy fingers and I've just left a big greasy mark over the camera, so it's probably not going to affect the light levels. The screen is quite glossy, I'll give you that. If you're watching it in a car, watching Netflix or something like that, that may have a lot of darks and blacks and things like that, then you might have quite a bit of reflections going on, and you'll find it difficult to see some of the darker imagery that may be in a program that you're watching. Also, fingerprints and the likes deeply affect the reflectiveness and the darks when watching in a well-lit area. It's very glossy. But the one thing I do really like is the layout of the buttons on the side here. Everything's up there. So if you want to take a screenshot, it really is just really simple to do. Simple and quick to do. And I think Lenovo have added a few extra things in here that allow you to do stuff quite quickly. There's nothing too exciting in the overlay to set it aside. It certainly isn't One UI or any of the other user interfaces that you might come to expect to see on here, but the likes of having crap recommendations to stuff that you're maybe going to be watching. And I know we've seen this type of thing on the Nokia tablet before, but this is the entertainment space from Google, so it does work quite well, and it recommends most of the apps that you would expect to see, depending on your location obviously, integrated into it, which is kind of nice. But because that's what this is. This isn't a powerhouse. Editing an HD video on this was a bit of a chore. Outputting it took maybe about 15 minutes, whereas doing the same video on the Galaxy Tab S7, it might have taken about 3 minutes. There is a noticeable step down, but the reason why I have this is entirely to consume media, and Netflix looks fantastic on it. It is in HD. It's not in 4K because this isn't a 4K screen. It is a 2K display, but that's alright because Netflix doesn't do 2K. They only do 1080p or HD. But it all looks rather good. Same with Disney Plus and Amazon Prime. Everything runs in HD and looks gorgeous. Looks very, very nice, save for those reflections. So all in, if you're buying a tablet right now that you want to spend about £200 on, I'd get this. It is on sale on Amazon as we speak. You can shop around and you can find the one with the keyboard that sticks out and the precision pen that comes with it. I didn't bother looking for that because that's not what I'm getting this. I much prefer using laptops and things for productivity. This might slow you down with a bit of productivity, but it runs everything that you would expect it to run, and it runs it well. And that's the important thing. The speakers do sound very good. They're not quite as well defined, perhaps, as some of the other tablets that are out there. You'll notice that it doesn't sound anywhere near as good as an iPhone or as the Samsung phones and tablets that you get, but it does sound very good, and these four speakers do chuck out quite a bit of volume at you, so it's a very comfortable listen. And if I hit play on this,
this is Tech Addicts.
it sounds great. It really does. I couldn't fault that at all. For local media playback, that sounds almost as good as going and getting a small Bluetooth speaker. It's not weedy. There's two speakers here, so if you're holding it, these ones still work just as well as these ones. They might sound a wee bit muffled. You can direct them towards you and things, and all those tactics that people have for side-mounted speakers, they sound great. And honestly, the camera ain't bad. The pictures that we would expect to see from it are darn good. There's good level of quality there. Obviously these are ideal conditions, but you can make a good amount of detail around the side there. The car actually looks older than it does to the human eye through this, but I guess that's probably just a bit of grain or whatever that's on the camera. But it all looks fine. And turning it round to the front-facing camera as well, it's grand in a video conference. It's very good quality. In fact, it goes far to say that it's much better quality than the Chromebook I currently use. So things are really very, very good. For £209, this is a real bargain. There's still no guarantee. There's a promise, but not a guarantee that it's going to get Android 12. I have written to Lenovo's PR to ask if they do have those details of when and if it's going to arrive, but there's been no reply. But I would hardly recommend this to anyone who wants to spend £200 on an Android tablet. This is the one to get. I know a lot of people will say, no, it's not as good as the Xiaomi Pad M5 or whatever it is, the new Xiaomi Pad. But it's getting increasingly difficult to find, and also it lacks the micro SD card, which I kind of require. If you look hard enough, you can find the 256 gigabyte version, and also it has that 120 Hz refresh rate, which is lovely, but it still costs a good bit more than this. You're going to end up paying about £300 for that, and you still have no SD card. So let me know if you have any questions, any queries. Hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. And other than that, take care.